Good Monday morning. It's 5:30. Welcome to Montana This Morning. I'm Victoria Hill. Thank you so much for starting your day with us. And Miller, I'm a little more excited about what you might have to say this time around than
Yes, we are finally warming up. We haven't been above zero since Monday of last week. We've seen a lot of minuses across the board. Those are actual temperatures, not to mention what the wind chill's been like. But things are going to start to turn around. That's good news. Still cold out there right now, Victoria and everybody. By the way, good Monday morning. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. We're at -6 in Billings. Our winds are calm out there right now, but we do still have some wind chills, especially on the high line in northeastern portions of Montana. Let's work our way down the map here. Glasgow at -7. These are actual temperatures. 2 below in Jordan, 6 below in Miles City. Down in Dillon, we're at -2, -5 in Cody, and -12 in Worland. The wind's not too much of an issue this morning. We do have a bit of a breeze up there in northeast Montana, and that's why we do have some of those stronger wind chills up there. -30 in Glasgow, -33 in Williston, and 32 below is what it feels like in Glendive. So we still have some watches and some warnings out there because of the wind chill, especially off to our north. Nothing like that here at Billings, where we are slowly starting to warm up. We'll get to zero by 10 a.m. this morning. By lunchtime, we'll finally be on the plus side of zero. Of course, we are going to stay much colder than normal for this time of the season, but each and every day that Arctic air mass pushes further to our east, and that allows us to warm up, hopefully maybe as early as Thursday, definitely by Friday, getting above the freezing mark for the first time in a long time, Victoria.
Yeah, when you say zero, I'm like, oh, that's warm.
I'm going to start throwing on some T-shirts with that kind of talk.
Yeah. All right, thank you so much for that weather update. I'll get on to the news. Our top story this Monday morning, a more contagious strain of COVID-19 is spreading quickly here in the U.S. According to the director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, more than 1,000 cases of the variant first seen in the U.K. have now been detected in the United States. Experts predict the mutation may become the dominant form of the virus in this country by next month. Still, COVID-19 cases are dropping, but health experts are warning this is not the time to stop being cautious. Last week, the average number of cases dipped below 100,000 for the first time since November. The daily death rate is now between 1,500 and 3,500. However, doctors say that's still more than double what we were seeing over the summer when many states had tamed the virus. And now here's a look at the latest numbers in Montana. The state reported 67 new COVID-19 cases on Sunday and more than 90 recoveries. Just 92 people are in hospitals across the state with the virus. Over 1,300 Montanans have died from COVID-19. But so far, over 93,000 have recovered, and there have been over 1 million tested for the virus since the beginning of the pandemic. And nearly a year into the pandemic, and many of the precautions put in place to keep people safe are still facing strong opposition. CBS's Chris Martinez takes a look at what causes people to have such resistance to safety guidelines and the psychology behind the defiance.
Scenes like this have played out across the country. Large gatherings to protest pandemic restrictions like mask wearing and quarantining. Health officials largely connect the latest surge in COVID-19 cases to people ignoring pleas to follow precautions. The question is, why are some people so resistant?
As it's been going on and people have been wanting to get back to business, get back to their regular lives, they're very tired of the restrictions.
Dr. Simi Bamboge of Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles says while pandemic fatigue is a major reason behind the defiance, it's not the only one. She says peer pressure also leads some to ignore the rules, and another big factor is confirmation bias, people giving more weight to their own experiences than the experiences of others.
They get a little bit more lax, and they're able to say, well, we did this before and it was fine, so why are you worried about this? Why don't we just go ahead and go hang out outside or go to this restaurant and it will be fine?
Convincing others to get on board with the measures can be difficult, but it is possible. Experts say it begins with making it personal.
What is it going to take for you to take this seriously? Is it the fear of a loved one getting sick, your grandmother, and thinking about it in whatever kind of way that can resonate with you so that you can take the appropriate actions to keep yourself and others safe.
She reminds people that while the pandemic will end, the choices we make now could have lifelong consequences. Chris Martinez, CBS News, Los Angeles.
also hard to convince younger people who are typically at lower risk of severe COVID not to gather in groups. That's especially because the part of the brain that controls judgment doesn't fully develop until the mid-20s. And now to the latest business news. Montana is the #1 best state to start a small business. That's according to a new study from business and software advice website, The Blueprint. Tax climate, consumer spending within the state, and business survival rate over 5 years all contributed to the ranking. The study also factored in Montana's relatively low COVID-19 case counts. American salaries have fully recovered from the pandemic, even though jobs have not. That's according to numbers from the Commerce Department. In February of 2020, just before the pandemic hit, Americans earned $9.66 trillion in wages and salaries. After shrinking by 10% in April, that number is now back to normal. The data accounts for money people earned from jobs and not unemployment or other aid. That means the combined salaries of new hires and pay raises accounts for more earnings than the income from the nearly 9 million people still out of work. In other news, after he was acquitted in his second Senate impeachment trial, former President Donald Trump released a statement saying, "Soon we will emerge with a vision for a bright, radiant, and limitless American future." Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are now reflecting on the trial's outcome and looking ahead to their next challenge, COVID relief. CBS's Deborah Alfarone has more.
House impeachment manager Jamie Raskin says his team did all it could in former President Trump's Senate trial.
We successfully prosecuted him and convicted him in the court of public opinion and in the court of history. He's obviously a major political problem for the Republican Party, and as long as he's out there attempting to wage war on American constitutional democracy, he's a problem for all of us.
Saturday's 57-43 vote fell short of the two-thirds majority needed to convict the former president. The 7 Republicans who joined Democrats to vote guilty are now facing a backlash. The Louisiana Republican Party Executive Committee voted to censure Senator Bill Cassidy.
He brought together a crowd, but a portion of that was transformed into a mob. And when they went into the Capitol, it was clear that he wished that lawmakers be intimidated. And even after he knew there was violence taking place, he continued to basically sanction the mob being there.
With the trial now history, lawmakers plan to tackle COVID relief once they return here to the Capitol from recess.
President Biden has said he is willing to compromise on who gets $1,400 stimulus checks based on income, but he may have to separately pursue a $15 minimum wage in stages. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders wants the hike included.
We've got to raise the minimum wage to a living wage of $15 an hour. That's what the American people want, and that's what I intend to do.
House Democrats are working to push through President Biden's nearly $2 trillion plan, while some Republicans want to cut the cost by about 2/3. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
And without a deal, millions of struggling Americans are set to lose emergency unemployment benefits next month. Lawmakers are still pursuing investigations into the January riot at the U.S. Capitol. Senate hearings were already scheduled for later this month in the Senate Rules Committee, but there's a growing support for another independent commission. It would be similar to the one that investigated the 9/11 attacks. New legislation would be needed to create the commission, and it would offer a government-backed account of events. And despite being acquitted, President Trump could face many more court battles in the future. Criminal investigations in various states are just getting underway. Georgia's Secretary of State is investigating the former president for attempts to influence the administration of the state's 2020 general election count. Washington, D.C.'s Attorney General wants to bring charges against Trump for the January 6th riots. And in New York, criminal and civil investigations are underway into various business dealings. Trump's lawyers have called all the investigations baseless political attacks. Turning from the latest on the past administration to the current one, this week President Biden will talk with world leaders about the pandemic and the economy. It will be the president's first meeting with leaders from the Group of Seven. The virtual G7 event will focus on coordinating vaccine production, distribution, and supplies. When it comes to the economy, White House officials say industrialized countries will be front and center. The G7 meeting will be hosted by the UK and also include Canada, France, Germany, Japan, and the European Commission and Council.